Welcome back to the shop, everyone. This week's video takes place in 2023, week 29, July 17th to July 23rd. And we are starting out with mail call from McLeod Racing. So they have sent us another package in the mail, and they have sent us these shims. And I just did a very quick measurement and confirmed that they did send me the right shims this time, so I can officially get the clutch back in the car. So next piece of mail we got from Ron Francis Wiring. I was talking with Wayne over there. He got me those terminals that I'm really excited for, because those are for the VSS connector. And I got some other headlight connectors. And now we are moving on to RMS Lighting. So I picked up some new headlights for the car. They're LED lights. They're supposed to be super bright. They're supposed to be much better than the stock headlights. And, you know, in some of the Facebook foxbody groups that I'm on, I heard great reviews on RMS Lighting. So I figured, what the hell, I'll pick them up. The price of everything is going up exponentially these days. So I'll buy these now before they're, they increase in price by another, 20-30%. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm just trying to check the connectors on them, just to see if I need to see what I need to do to connect them into my car. But at the end of the day, I believe they just need a regular connector. Those are only there for if you had like stock wiring or something like that. So I don't think I will need those, but I have them in case I need them. Oh, look at that. It's finally time to get the engine uncovered, and let's get back on installing this clutch. So you've already seen me install the clutch before. I line up the first clutch disc. I put the adapter ring on top of the pins that I previously installed in the flywheel. And then from there, I'm going to put the next disc in, realign it all, put the pressure plate on, and bolt it all together. I don't think I really need to talk through this, other than I finally have the proper shim, and I'm so excited that I have the right shim, and I have, a shim on all 6 of the studs now. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get this all fired back in. One thing that I think is just so neat is, as I'm going through this, just look how much the fingers on the clutch disc push in. Like, as I'm torquing all the bolts down, I think it's just absolutely crazy how much that actually pushes in. Alright, with the bell housing loosely on the engine, I need to find the mid plates. And I have no idea where I put it, so I'm just going to look around the shop for a while. At one point in time, I go around the back of the car. I think I found it. I point at my wall. That's where I think I found it. And I go over and I realize, oh no, that was just the indexing plates. But then I did find it behind the drill press. So put that back on. We can bolt that on, and then we can start working on getting this engine in the car. Oh, here it is. If we're clearing a path to the engine, I guess that must mean we're getting ready to put this in the car here pretty quick. That gets me pretty excited. Yeah, we'll just kick that old oil pan over. No big deal there. We don't need it. It can just be off to the side. It's fine. Alright, we got the trusty old lift out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the headers and I'm just going to loosely put them under where the engine would be, and the reason being I found out that there is absolutely zero chance of me getting that passenger side header installed while the engine is already sitting down in place in the car. So I need to get the engine kind of hovering over in its spot, bolt the passenger side header on, and then we can go from there. Driver side header, I know I can get that on outside the car, but I just threw it there because I figured what the hell, I'll do the same thing for both and just kind of put it in the car and rest it over. So here we are hooking up the engine. I got the leveler on. I got to bolt it to the engine, so I got to find all the right bolts and do all that good stuff, and then we will start moving it over. So something I kind of learned is when you're moving an engine on a hoist like this, generally until you're pretty close to where you need it, you want to keep it as low as possible. You want to keep that center of gravity down. As you lift the engine up, it's got a much greater chance of, toppling side to side, falling backwards, etc., etc. So, when you're just moving it around the shop, just keep it as low as possible. You don't want to, end up on the internet looking like an idiot because, your engine went everywhere and you went ass over tea kettle and all that good stuff. So, yep. So now I'm going to try and find you a good camera angle to get, so you can watch as I attempt to put this in the car. Know what I said, attempt, because it does not go as I would like it to go. Yeah, so I don't really know why I actually put the headers there. It's kind of a stupid thing. I should have just pulled them out of the way, and then I could have mounted it while it was in the air over the engine bay. But here we are. It is what it is. And you'll see this is why it was a bad idea, because I actually, end up hitting the header and knocking it over and stuff like that. So the reason why I'm setting this down right now is I had the arm on the engine hoist retracted too far. So what was happening is, as I was trying to push the engine in, the legs were hitting the jack stands, and that's no good. So extend the arm out, get a little bit of extra length out of it, and we can now work on getting the engine in the car. And here goes header number 1. And I'm like, God damn it, let's just get this in place. As I'm doing that, header number 2 goes. So I go and I think I leave that because I know I can get that side in after. Yeah, just pull this out for now. You can see the mid plate was getting hung up on the heater valve. Yeah, so whatever, we can try and get this installed now. So I'm looking at this from a bunch of different angles. I'm trying to angle the engine down because I need to get the oil pan over the K-member hump. And the problem why this is not going on as easily as it went in before is because the clutch is now installed, and that clutch takes up, let's say, 3 inches. Let's just say 2.5 inches. I don't know. It takes up a fair amount of space. So what's happening now is the input shaft on the transmission no longer has enough space to line up with the middle of the clutch, while and also have the oil pan clear the K-member. So just having the clutch installed, it's a bit of an extra, takes up that enough clearance that I can't put the engine in with the transmission fully installed. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is I'm going to work on dropping this transmission down so that I can get the engine down and into the car more or less where it needs to go. And then with the engine not fully installed, I won't install all the bolts completely tightly, but then I can angle it backwards, I can angle the transmission up, I can mate them, and then I can rock it all back into place as I need. In order to drop the transmission down, I gotta undo all the connections. Fortunately, there's only 2 connections because the third one I haven't done yet, but I do have the connectors in, and I got those at the start of the video from Ron Francis. So thanks again to Wayne over there for helping me out get the VSS terminals. Sidebar, those guys are just awesome, super nice to deal with, got me everything I needed. Back to the car, I'm just hooking up the transmission jack. I was looking for the handle that goes in the end. I couldn't find it. So I'm just going to use the handle out of the engine hoist, and that's fine. Yeah, so I'm just hooking up the chain around the top, and now I can start undoing some of these bolts. Alright, so with the transmission down, I'm going to get this header loosely into place and just kind of connect it to the engine. And after I get this installed, it was at that moment I kind of realized I fucked up a little bit. And how I fucked up is, what I need to do is I need to get the front of the engine lined up with the engine plate mounts that I have on the front tubes. Now, how do I do that? Well, I do that with the actual engine plates. Well, those mount to the front of the heads with 3/8 and 7/16 bolts. Well, I hooked my engine hoist right up to the front of the heads. I didn't put the engine plates on first. So what I actually did is just kind of a really dumb thing, but it worked. I just very gently set the engine down in the engine bay, so the oil pan is actually right on the cross member. The engine is kind of pressed up against the firewall. And I'm really just praying that this doesn't shift. It should be fairly solid, but don't get me wrong, this is a very stupid thing to do. What I should have done is lifted it back up, pulled all of it forward, forward out of the car, dropped it back on the wood, taken those bolts out, and then put the engine plates on with it out of the car. But I was real lazy and I didn't do that, and don't do what I did, because as you can see here, the engine's not fully centered, so the passenger side engine plate doesn't want to go on. So what I actually end up doing is lifting the engine up with just one I think I lifted up with just one of the front chains attached. Or maybe I do it with both and then swing it around. I don't remember. What do I do here? Okay, so I get the driver's side bolts in, that's fine. Oh, then I drop it down, take the passenger side engine bolt out, swing the engine plate into place. Long story short, this just wasn't the best way to do this, but I got away with it, I guess. Alright, so now that the engine is in the car, I can start getting the transmission mated up to it. So the engine's kind of angled a little bit backwards in the car, and that's okay. That's not going to hurt anything. So now I'm just going to jack the engine up and start working on getting it in the car. This is a little bit harder than it was the first time around, and the reason why it's harder is because I have the clutch on there now. So the input shaft has, I think this has 31 splines on it. The clutch discs have 31 splines. Now fortunately, I had my clutch alignment tool in there, so both discs, the splines are all lined up. But I do need to very precisely get that input shaft into the middle of the clutch, for it to properly mate up with the engine. So that means the angles need to be right, the yaw, so left and right need to be right, the up and down need to be right. You've got 3 different axes that you need to have right in order to get this in there. Yeah, so I've been fighting with this a little bit, trying to get it in there, and in a moment I'm going to go to the top, and you're going to see that tail end, so that's the yaw, so you can see the tail end is way to the right, and that needs to go way to the left. So I go up top, and I see that, so I go underneath, and I look at it, and I'm like, okay, so the back end needs to go over that way, and it's just not going. I can't figure it out, and then I realize, fuck me, the handle for the transmission jack is actually hitting the collector on the header. So the transmission cannot swing any more over to the passenger side because it's actually hitting the exhaust. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, fuck. But now that I figured it out, okay, this is a fairly easy fix. Loosen off the header. I can get that adjuster past the header. And then after that, the transmission pretty much goes right in, a little bit more movement, but then so I think right here it just kind of like slides right in. Oh no, a little bit more movement with the engine, but here, like, I just slid right in. Easy peasy. I think that's it. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, I did a little fist pump. There it is. So it's finally in. It's all mated. I didn't use the bolts to pull it in or anything like that. That was just perfect. So now I'm gonna throw some bolts in there just to keep it all together. Yeah, so now we're just going to throw some bolts in the transmission / scatter shield, as well as get that cross member back up. And that's all that we have for this week's video. So as always, if you stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in the next one.